StudentPreneur, the podcast about students who are entrepreneurs. Get motivated and keep your energy high. Stories from studentpreneurs.
This episode is sponsored by ID Network, a network of university associations run by studentpreneurs for studentpreneurs. Visit idnetwork.com.au. Welcome to episode 8. My name is Julian Marchand, entrepreneur turned PhD student. Each week, I bring you the best of those individuals who are students and entrepreneurs. I call them studentpreneur. This week, our studentpreneur is Nicholas. So Nick, you just graduated from a Master of Commerce at University of New South Wales in Sydney?
Yep.
And you've also just started a new business called Hipfood. And you're all excited about it, I guess. Do you want to explain us a bit more what is Hipfood?
Okay. So Hipfood, first I'll say the HIP in Hipfood stands for Healthy Intelligent Produce. So what the business is making and selling fresh meal options to busy professionals through vending machines located directly in the workplace. So our aim was kind of to give shift workers at hospitals, university students staying late at study at night, and just people doing long hours, the ability to eat fresh, nutritious food without having to either make themselves in the morning or go out of their way.
Okay, I think you can target all entrepreneurs as well.
That's it. Hopefully.
That's cool. How did you get started in your journey? Like, what did you do when you were in high school? Did you have a normal childhood, or did you have
Normal, yeah. No, I did. I did have a normal childhood. I worked as a dish pig, so washing dishes from 14 till 16 throughout school.
Okay.
And then through my school and then my undergraduate degree, I worked as a chef. So that always kind of had the passion for food.
Okay, so you were working when you were in high school and when you were at uni. Okay, so I guess so you were working through high school and through undergrad. Was it just for money, or was it you wanted to get some experience, or what was it?
Always enjoyed working. Just something about, initially it was hospitality, really enjoyed the industry. It's a very unique industry which kind of has its own rules and ways everything's done, but it succeeds in its own right. It's always a lot of fun, the friendships you make. So it was partly, spending money on the weekend, but also being able to just learn from the inside out how these businesses worked.
What did you think your friend think about you, like when you were 15 and you were working, whereas most of them were not working, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I never really talked about it because it was just, after school or shift on the weekend. I don't remember. I never really talked about it.
So since the age of 14, you hadn't had a weekend for you?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how it works being a chef.
Yeah, if you're in
my weekend is the Monday.
Yep, Monday.
That's it.
So what happened? What made you decide to break from having a job and start something?
Well, I always worked in small businesses. All the restaurants were the chef or someone who worked there typically owned it, maximum 10, 15 staff. And my parents own small business as well, and I worked a lot within that. So it just kind of felt natural moving on to starting my own business based off the experience I learned working in these small companies, which kind of gave me the experience and, I guess, confidence to start my own.
But you could have started a restaurant, right? If all the businesses knew were restaurants. Yeah,
it's true. But the reason I stopped being a chef was you work up to 80 hours a week for extremely low pay. And you don't get that weekend, which, you see all your friends have. So I wanted to still work in hospitality or still cook food, but be able to in the future not have to work these ridiculous hours and can still have somewhat of a good income. So I thought Hipfood would give me the ability to both cook as much as I want, but still in the future grow it to hopefully a place where I can take a weekend off.
Okay, good plan. All right, so the plan is to have a weekend. But it's all based on so food is your passion, right? Making food that has become your passion.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. And I mean, it's a good idea not to start a restaurant, because how many restaurants are actually successful and have a good ROI?
That's it. It's first year, 75% of restaurants don't succeed or close. And first 3 years, I believe you don't make any money, you just break even. So the investment, initial capital to start a restaurant's huge. Cooking equipment's cheap. Yeah. Lease isn't cheap. Alcohol, life, insurance, everything is. It's a lot of outgoings for, you have one bad night and you don't have any income and you're already behind.
That's right. My wife was a chef as well in Sydney, and She told me someday she saw the suppliers coming in and asking to be paid because they hadn't been paid in 4 weeks. I'm like, wow, is that possible? Yeah. Can you do that?
Yeah, it's scary stuff.
That is scary. So what type of skills did you transfer from being a chef to starting your own business? Because that was the first time, really.
Yeah. So I guess one of the key elements to be a successful chef is not the ability to make good food. Of course, that's very important, but it's being able to handle a lot of pressure unexpectedly, as well as a lot of different things going on at once. And I think I take that approach to how I've done Hipfood, where I really believe if you're going to start your own company that you can be able to do all aspects of it, like a very holistic creation. So I learned how to build websites. So I built the website on my own. I contacted all the suppliers, everything I've done from the bottom up. I mean, I think I was able to do that because of the training I was taught, being able to handle just chaos sometimes in the kitchen, everything going wrong at once, but you still have to kind of pull through.
That's a really good description of an entrepreneur and handling chaos. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. There's no certainty, that's for sure.
So, and did you get any help to learn about to make the website and contact the suppliers, or you just went online and just...
Nah, kind of worked it out myself. At first, so I did an entrepreneurial course at USNW as an elective as part of my master's. And that was really helpful because it gave kind of milestones and some kind of path to following the lean startup method to start a business. So with that foundation and general idea, I kind of just worked off that into a more realistic, I guess, business.
Oh, so that's interesting. Do you think that if you hadn't had an exposure to the lean startup, you would not have known how to get started, or?
I wouldn't know how to get started. I don't think that was the issue. It's more kind of detailing your progression and always questioning and pivoting and deciding you had this idea, why do you think this is right, and validating any kind of decision you make, not based on a subjective perception, more on, numbers and whether it is a right decision in the end, not just me being egotistical and believing it. It's easy to happen sometimes.
Talking to your customers. So you went out and you talked to the students on campus, and you went to...
Yeah, went to hospitals, went to office blocks, talked to them, did a survey based on questions on how long do they eat out at lunch? Do they go to the CBD? Bring food from home? How long do they have to wait? What do they usually get? How often a week? What's the spending price? Everything. So I went to the city, CBD 3 or 4 times. A few friends I have got to help me out and just questioned everyone. And through those surveys and kind of realizing that though the CBD would be a great place to run Hipfood, it's just not feasible based on peak hour traffic for deliveries, as well as now office blocks have cafes just on the ground level and sometimes on any level in the building. So you have a direct competition. And because Hipfood's, I think, kind of unique characteristic of emptying and refilling these vending machines every single day with food made that same morning. So it guarantees that the produce in there has only been there for a maximum of 23 hours. It's not feasible at the CBD. So hospitals just stuck out. They run 24 hours a day.
Yes, that's true.
They've got a loading dock. They've got service lifts. There's ample places to do deliveries. The doors are wide. All these small things which I hadn't previously thought of were kind of illuminated after doing these surveys, which is great, obviously.
So you build like different scenarios. Did you use a javelin board, for instance, or?
No, just we did for the course, we had to write all our progressions and all the surveys we did within our own kind of database, which we used a basic template or framework, and just built it from that.
Okay. So in the past, you've been managing, working and studying. How have you been able to manage starting the business and studying at the same time?
And working. I work through masters as well. I don't see Hipfood that different to any other job I've had, in the sense that I still devote a certain amount of time to it each day, but it's a bit more flexible. So I just see it as another job. I'll just do a few less hours on my other job and make it up with Hipfood. And I think it is that regular kind of work, which I do on it, which I can see progression, which in turn keeps me motivated, because there was a few times when, you kind of just don't know what the next step is or how to attain the next goal or milestone which you need to progress. And motivation is the key thing to keep going. So the regularity,
That's right. So I guess for motivation, while you were in your entrepreneurial course, you kind of had that motivation of every week to show something to the others. Did that help to have other people in a room looking at your project and having the lecturers also looking at your project?
Definitely. Not only is it that you don't want to seem like you haven't done any work for a class or anything like that. It also, you get to bounce off ideas. People play the devil's advocate. There's always, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. There's always critique and ideas. So you can always just polish anything you think is perfect a little bit more from someone else's perspective, which is good.
And how did you feel there? Because most of the time, the businesses that go through the lean startup, they're more like tech startup most of the times. How did that apply to you? Like, did you feel at ease in the room? Like, were there other non-techie business in the room?
They were, I think there was about 16 people in the class, and we did these ideas in pairs. So there was 8 projects or businesses theoretically starting up. 6 were tech or apps.
Oh, okay.
One was my own, so whatever you want to call Hipfood, and another was another food-based one on being a student franchise food business within universities.
Okay, so at least you could kind of balance off that other business that was kind of in the same area. Yeah,
I think the tech app startups, I guess, within lean startup are most popular because of the scalability. You
Correct.
can overnight get an audience of ideally as many as you can get. Hipfood, not to that extreme, is still an extremely scalable business because these vending machines, I can get 5 per hospital, and as soon as one is theoretically, which has proven itself within its hospital, and the staff are happy, they're getting fresh meals, patients are happy, visitors are waiting for hours, and instead of chips and chocolate, they get a full meal. You get multiple machines per hospital, and the distribution is very quick. You can just set up these distribution networks in an arc throughout the hospitals in Sydney and then move into state, which allows it to be quite a positively scalable business without being too compromising.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Will you be using the existing networks of people that service those machines?
What do you mean by that?
Like, there are a lot of resources already that go out there and fill up all those vending machines with the sugar bars and all that. Can you use the same network, or do you have to create your own?
I could, but it's very important how the product is placed and starting somewhat of a culture within the workplace. Because the outlet, Hipfood kiosk, is directly in the workplace, I wanted the person who is putting the food in each day to get to know the staff, get to know their preferences.
Okay, so that's kind of personalized.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the kind of the key aspect is, so I've got the machine's SIM card installed, which allows me to gather all the data of when things sell, what sells. And at the end of each month, there are 4 different salads in the machine. The top 2 sellers stay on, and the bottom 2 sellers are refreshed to a different salad menu. So what it does means is that each machine will have its localized menu over a period of time tailored to the preference of the demographic who are currently working there. So it's ever changing and hopefully always keeping people intrigued.
Wow, that's quite clever. Well, I guess that's what I stands for, intelligent.
Yeah, that's it.
So how did you think of that? Like, is that from user surveys or from your previous experience?
It was from the surveys, because one of the key things I noted was people got really bored of food quickly. One of the key things was that people went to the same place only for a few weeks before changing to another because of just the menu staying stagnant. It was nothing intriguing or something new. So they knew what was there and they never went back because they knew exactly what it was unless they wanted that item. So I wanted to always capture people's kind of Hipfood in their thoughts about when they thought about food. They were going, what's the next salad going to be? What's the new season? Because the entire menu is based on seasonal produce.
Wow. Okay. And what is your job in all that? Do you create the menus or do you overlook everything? Are you going to have to hire chefs or?
So for the first machine, probably first few machines, I will be cooking, menu writing, as well as delivering.
Yeah, exactly. That's
how startups work.
That's bootstrapping.
That's it, yeah. Once I get a few more machines, then I will have integrated my own catering company on top. So I'll have a few chefs working underneath me, but I'll continually write the menu and overlook the food.
And you said that when you did your course, you were in pair. What happened to your...
My business partner?
Yes.
She's still there.
Oh, okay. So you do have a business partner. So you're not on your own.
No, I have a business partner. I do.
Okay. And so how do you balance the workload or the responsibilities?
We have regular meetings where we work out the next kind of agenda and milestones we need to hit and delegate jobs to whomever it fits. Currently, because at the moment it's based around the food and getting the contract, her role is with myself negotiations with the hospital, and she manages PR and media side because she's got experience with that from university as well as the job she currently works. So her role will take proper place once we launch by managing the social media and promoting Hipfood to our other locations.
Okay, that's cool. At least you've got someone else to work with you. That's for motivation. That's quite important.
It is so important. There's, you always need, when things are slowing down, someone nagging at your feet.
Yeah. So how do you learn and what do you recommend? Do you have a book that you like, a podcast, a blog, or in terms of food and in terms of business?
I think just go and try to make friends with chefs and small business, or try to work in small business and get a really holistic approach to how they run. Because the thing I find amazing about small businesses is people have their own roles, but for it to run smoothly, efficiently and profitably, each, not just their role, but know how to do everyone's role nearly. And that's what makes it succeed. And that's why I think my experience from working in small businesses is going to help Hipfood succeed, hopefully.
So you're saying they know how to do everyone's job, so they're aware of what the job entitles, but they don't do it because they don't add value to that job, right?
Exactly. They might not do it as good as that other employee, but for a company to work, let's say you got 6 employees, they're each going to have a very different role in the company. It's a proper business. If one person is ill or one person sick or whatever it is, without that person, the whole machine stops. You need it to continue running, and the only way for that is to have each employee or each worker understanding what makes that business work.
Cool. So that's how you learn. You go and talk to chefs. Do you also use the chefs as a support, like somebody you can rely on?
Yeah, definitely. My old head chef from the last restaurant, I still consult his wisdom and opinion.
So kind of a mentor?
Regularly. Yeah, a little bit, I'd say. An emotional mentor.
At least he can help you on the food side of the business.
100%.
But what about the other side of the business, like the distribution network, negotiations with hospitals? I mean, that's very different from a chef experience.
You'd be surprised. To make a kitchen run profitably, you need to, one, negotiate all your suppliers' prices, because the price they give you is never the price it's actually worth. So when you get a new supplier, they'll tell you a price list, and then next month it's already negotiated down to what it should have been from the start. So you're always haggling and trying to stay on positive terms with these suppliers and different relationships, while at the same time maximizing your profit by negotiating better terms for yourself. So it was really interesting. You kind of learn not just cooking when you're a chef, it's everything. It is its own the kitchen is its own business in a restaurant.
Wow, within the restaurant itself.
Yeah.
The more you describe the chef, and the more you're describing a full-on entrepreneur.
That's it.
So you meet them. So you've met your mentor because he was your former head chef. And do you try to go and meet out other ones, like new ones? And how do you meet them?
Sometimes I like going to new places and new restaurants. And a trend at the moment within restaurants in Sydney is open kitchens. So it allows you to look straight in and see how the chef works, what his methodology is, how he works his kitchen, how it's set up. And it kind of gives you the insight in how the whole business is run. So it's not even just talking. You can always have a chat after, but it's a transparent business, the kitchen. So you can just see how it works and learn from that.
Wow. Okay. That's... And have you been exposed to another type of network when you were at a university?
No, definitely. A much more professional network. So through the entrepreneurial course, the final project for that course was a pitch in front of real investors who were real investors, but obviously they weren't going to invest in the student ideas based off just the assignment. But there were prizes for places. So Hipfood fortunately won that contest, and we won office space at ATPI in Technology Park.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, in Sydney, which was really, really great. So I met a lot of guys and girls there who were extremely motivating, inspirational.
Because they also have entrepreneurs in residence over there as well, right?
Yeah. So there's you kind of see the light because people have already succeeded in what you're hoping to attain there, which is always really helpful.
Yeah, they have an smaller incubator program within the technological, the ATP, right?
Yeah.
Did you sit in that section?
Yes.
Ah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it was great. So you can kind of see, because I think the hardest thing about doing a startup is not knowing if you're doing it correctly in a way, because there's just no rules. You kind of just, you know what you have to do, but you know where you have to be, but you don't know how to get there. So you kind of work it out yourself. So you see these other people doing it, kind of gives you a little bit of confidence in, you kind of just work it out. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I know the ATP, I've been there a few times. I know it's not always open space, but you were able to talk to the other guys every day, right? And
yeah, so the office space which we won was in the shared common area.
Oh,
so
that's good. That's much better.
Yeah, there was 10 big desks and 30 seats and 10 different startups working away. On top of that, we won guidance from Brian Doricott of Meteorical. We had a mentoring program with him, as well as NSI within UNSW. They provided a lot of support, help, guidance in the initial stages.
There's the innovation arm of UNSW, right?
Correct. Yeah, they were really, really helpful. They provided us with not only weekly meetings where we could ask anything to do with
money,
any question we had. Yeah, exactly. To a lot of support within the legal aspects of starting a company. So a big shout out to Mel and Alex because they helped us a lot.
Yeah, that's a really good package as a prize because that's even more valuable than the course itself.
Well, that's it. It kind of gave us that launch, the springboard into starting it, because without that guidance at the beginning, it's all very real on your own.
Yeah, that's right. How long did you stay at the ATP?
Probably about 2 months.
2 months. That's a good start.
Yeah. The door's always open there, so I can always turn up and see how everything's going and catch up, which is nice.
Yeah, no, that's important because it's to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs and other people that are learning. And
yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, it's just you and your co-founder. No, that's awesome. That's a really good present. And by curiosity, the number 2 and number 3 of the competition, did they get anything?
Yeah, I think they won mentoring session with Brian Doricott of Meteorical, as well as NSI within UNSW do offer the same assistance they gave Lillian, my business partner, and myself to any student or students who are seriously thinking of undertaking a startup. But it has to be not just a fun idea, but a lot of motivation and proof that you're actually going to progress it is their time and money, of course.
No, that's good. And that's quite impressive because there were 6 tech startups and 2 food businesses and 1 food business. You won the first prize, so that's pretty good. Yeah.
I think for me, it was just a course, but a real validation or test of whether this could be a serious business. In the end, it is still a university course where people don't do it to start a business. They do it just for the interest as well as an elective unit. You do have that mix of people just seeing what's happening and people who actually want to start a business.
Yeah. It's a shame because it sounds like it's a pretty good course in the sense of at least it's pretty practical. It's on the lean startup methodology and you have really good prizes. So it's a shame.
Oh, it's fantastic.
If people don't take advantage of it, that's just such a waste.
Exactly. I was really surprised at the prizes because of how helpful and just really generous they were. So I was pretty fortunate. I was one of the few really wanted to win it.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm organizing a startup weekend event on the Sunshine Coast, and we were talking prizes, and we were like, money prizes? No, not really. Like, we were thinking maybe a laptop or something, but we have like co-sharing spaces left, right, and center, and I think it's much better, and you can spread it to more teams than just 100%. A winner. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important.
That's good. In your journey, like from working, studying, and then running your own business, have you had any failures already or any tough times?
Yeah, of course. That's the only way you learn, right?
Exactly. Do you mind sharing a couple?
Through where? Where do you want me to start?
The most memorable one.
Most memorable. I think, honestly, within all my small business jobs and running kitchens, small businesses in all different industries, or a failure as a negative thing. It was always something which I could really improve. It showed a flaw of myself or how I perceived the business. And what it gave me was the kind of benchmark to work on and to improve and move forward. So the biggest failure, I don't know, the biggest failure, I can't remember specifically because I never see it as a negative. I just see it as something to work on. Yeah, and I think it's important for anyone out there who's wanting to do a startup and are worried that, what are my friends going to think if it doesn't work out, or what is my girlfriend going to think? Who cares? Just try to improve yourself and work forward and just keep going.
But have you thought of stopping though sometimes?
Yeah, I have.
And what kept you motivated in the end?
A combination of, I think it's a really great business. It can be something which, as well as that kind of peer perception of, you want to impress people. You want to prove to everyone else who, goes and gets a desk job and works 9 to 5 and is generally successful and has a weekend, that you can do it your own way and be happy with how you chose to do it. There's something really special about creating your own business and working your own way about how you make it succeed.
So you're saying that people that work from 9 to 5 and have a weekend are successful?
I'm saying some.
Yeah, some. Yeah, you want to show that there's other ways to be successful, and it doesn't have to be the regular way. It can be an hectic way as well.
That's it. I went to a private in Sydney, and you're kind of educated on the kind of track that the best sure is. You're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're a financial banker. You're never taught or exposed to, you can be a chef, you can cook for a living, you can start your own business. That's not on the radar.
It's not part of the mindset, of the normal
not
mindset.
At all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So how do you think you broke that mindset?
I wasn't the best student at school. Okay. So, your teachers tell you one thing and you do the exact opposite. So knowing that my peers and my colleagues were all trying to strive to get that position within the law firm or a hospital, and I was out there just cooking on the weekend, it's made it a bit more special.
Yeah, more practical.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm happy with all the decisions I've made. There's no such thing as I don't think a failure. It's just something to work from.
But all the people that have been on this podcast, they've all been, working or starting the business while they were studying, and they basically all say the same thing, that the normal mindset was not for them, and they really felt like they were breaking out of that mindset. Some were doing it through reading books or listening to podcasts. Yeah. You did it by starting to work basically and seeing another world.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I got to thank my parents a lot because they've run a small business their whole life in a really strange industry. So it kind of proved to me that, you can succeed in something which isn't the mainstream or just the kind of general idea of what you should do when you're apparently an adult.
Yeah, no, because you talk about the private school, but yeah, at home you had your parents that were not in the normal mindset either. They were running their own business, and both of them. So that kind of helps you get out of that normal mindset of lawyers, doctors, and engineers.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, no, that's important. Is there anything that you need right now in your venture that you could get from the listeners? Do you need another mentor? Do you need people to follow you on Facebook? What do you want?
I don't think there's anything specifically. Anytime anyone would like to chat or just bounce an idea or suggest an improvement, shoot Nicholas at hipfood.com.au anytime or day.
Nicholas.hipfood.com.au. Anytime?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you don't have times anyway. You're not 9 to 5.
No, that's it. I reply to emails very quickly. So whenever I'll wake up and I'll send it, I found one of the most positive kind of influencing things for me when I started this out was how altruistic and kind of generous these other entrepreneurs I met were. I met a different guy, business or a startup every week for the first 16 weeks I started doing.
Oh, wow.
And so all I did was shoot them an email. I had no connections to them. I just say, oh, hey, love your business idea. I was wondering if I can chat to you about it. Maybe you can help me a little bit about what you think. Every single one of them replied, no worries, I'll meet you for coffee next Thursday or whatever it was.
Beautiful.
No one turned me down. Yeah, it was fantastic. And that's what kind of captivated me about this industry or this entrepreneurial kind of community. It's phenomenal.
You do that in a 9 to 5 environment. If you get 20% response, you're lucky.
Yeah, that's it. And I was like, these guys are successful. They have their own companies, and they're meeting me on a Thursday at 10 a.m. It's a good sign.
It's a good sign. Yeah, because they want to help people who are doers. People wants to do something. Like it's you don't have that many people around, and everyone wants to help a student or a young person as well. Like that's important. So it's important to have that card to play as well.
Yeah, the student card is gold. I used it a lot, and it works. So everyone out there, use the student card.
Oh yeah, because did you say you were a student when you did your survey?
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked if I wasn't a student.
No, it wouldn't have worked.
100%.
I'm going to help a student.
Most people are like, oh, no, they all say, no. I'm like, oh, no, it's just for a university project. Like, oh, that's fine. Yeah, what do you need to know?
Exactly. Yeah, no, that card is really, really important. That's great. All right, cool. Fantastic. That's a really good story here. Is there anything else you want to tell the listeners to keep them motivated and to break the stereotypes themselves?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask anyone of any position, of any company, anything. Just the only way to succeed is, I really believe, is just to put yourself out there and study comfort and turn up or send them an email, make a call, and you'll be really, really surprised about the generosity of people. It's definitely pretty inspiring about how nice random people in the world are.
That's great. Thank you so much. Oh, well, thank you very much for your time, Nicholas.
Pleasure, Julian. Thank you very much.
All right, and catch you later.
Thanks again.
Time for a quick wrap-up. Each studentpreneur story is different, and what works for some people doesn't for others. For this episode, I wanted to go a little bit outside the profile of studentpreneurs I have interviewed so far. Yes, Nicholas is still at an early stage, but he illustrates a couple of my findings in my research. Well, first, you don't need to be in tech to have a startup. Duh. Well, it actually goes deeper than this. Some of the jobs around offers real entrepreneurial experience. With Nicholas, you can see how a chef in his cuisine is running his own business within the restaurant. Like entrepreneurs, as Nicholas said, he's managing chaos. Our studentpreneur started working early in that environment, which helped him break away from the mainstream mindset. Of course, having both his parents as small business owners helped too. However, something else happened to him to get started. An elective at uni that gave him the basics of how to get started, with tools like the Lean Startup methodology, but also a competition with enabling and empowering prizes such as a space in an incubator. Finally, he wasn't afraid of asking anyone with experience how to do things. You have to keep in mind, as a student, you have a powerful tool, your student card, so use it. Contact people with experience. They're always happy to help students. Go and do your customer validation out of the building and wave your student ID, and you'll be impressed on how easier things get. So don't wait and start leveraging your student card. Thank you so much for your time, Nicholas, and all the best in your venture. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with like-minded people around you. Catch the next episode of StudentPreneur on Wednesday next week. Meanwhile, keep breaking the stereotype and the mindset.